In Dean Wesley Smith's Stages of Fiction Writers, he identifies 4 different phases for authors that we all go through. While I find it a solid analysis which has inspired me to design a more in-depth guide, there is one part I'm questioning the wisdom of a bit. Let's summarize the actual book first, before I continue with my objection. If you could give me your thoughts at the end, I'd appreciate it. So, according to him, at stage 1, writers are solely focused on the mechanical aspects of writing, such as typing and putting words on a page. They are primarily concerned with the words themselves, rather than the story or characters they are creating. In stage 2, writers begin to transition from their initial focus on typing and word choice to a deeper concern for story and character. However, they are still largely preoccupied with the technical aspects of writing, believing that polishing a story will make it better. There tends to be a lot of rewriting in this stage still, and progress is slow. To simplify these 2 stages, these writers are typists. Stage 3 is a vast area that encompasses many years of growth and development, where writers expand their skills and awareness of story elements. They learn to notice pacing, character development, setting, and other elements that create a compelling narrative. By the end of this stage, writers are focused on the story and characters so intently that they no longer see the words themselves. They have learned that the words are merely tools for conveying their story and have developed the ability to craft a compelling narrative without obsessing over individual word choice. While stage 3 represents a significant milestone in a writer's journey, it is also where many writers stop. They can make a living as a writer, but they never reach the next level of mastery. At this level, these writers are storytellers. Stage 4 is the pinnacle of a writer's journey, where they become true entertainers. At this stage, writers are less concerned with the words themselves, more focused on creating a powerful, engaging experience for the readers. They have developed complete control over their reader's mind, ensuring that the reader is fully immersed in the story from beginning to end. If I had to place myself anywhere in these, I'd say I'm stage 3. Early stage 3 probably. I don't wish to say too much about a phase that I'm not at yet, but when it comes to stage 1 and 2, I think there's a bit more nuance than he acknowledges when it comes to this phase. I agree with his assessment that prose is a tool and doesn't matter as much as some make it out to be. I spoke about this once in my Sanderson video. In fact, I've learned even more since. For instance, did you know that bestsellers tend to have short and clean sentences and relatively few adjectives and adverbs? It's a little thing I learned thanks to an algorithm that combed through bestsellers and found that interesting prose doesn't matter as much as a smooth read. I also have run into many who will tout high word counts they have or how many words they did that day, with the actual value of the words being useless when I give it a try since it's unreadable. They are far more focused on just getting words down than they are what the words are doing. This is one reason I don't care about how much words someone has as a metric. It tells me nothing about their ability as a storyteller. What I disagree with is the idea that prose is unimportant. I don't think that you can advance to those stages where you can effectively express your content without prose skills as a foundation. See, here's the thing. Prose is the language of the page. It's what communicates the ideas. Expression by itself isn't enough. It's self-indulgent. And while I am 100% about writing for oneself and expressing what you want to express, I am not someone who is down with being self-indulgent if you want people to pay attention. If it's just a hobby, sure, whatever. If it's for the consumption of others, no. Entertainment is a transaction. Even if someone isn't paying with money, they are investing time in the writer. That doesn't mean someone has to be perfect, but it does help to ease the experience for others. I view it as being a good host. Failure to be a good host makes it easier for writers to ditch a story and move on, which means you can't learn what is or isn't working from others beyond the opening. It's hard to develop skills as a storyteller if people don't want to engage with your story, and the likelihood of people giving you the chance for most is low if you can't communicate. I'm perfectly fine admitting that if the first few pages don't draw me in, I decide that I can't put faith in the writer for the rest of the book and move on to something that I have confidence will scratch whatever itch I want scratched. Furthermore, from my experience, Those who don't build knowledge of and experience with prose end up feeling stuck because they don't know what to look for or why to do certain things. This often leads to frustration and prevents creativity because the mind of the inexperienced are fixated with questions of, is this good? Is this bad? Why? Without any clear path forward. If this psychological pressure doesn't break them as writers, then they tend to develop bad habits by deciding that it doesn't matter at all, which sabotages their potential in the long term. I can also reference a book that says something opposite of Smith on words. In Spellbinding Sentences, the author notes that a lot of people who want to be writers don't actually understand how language works or how to use it effectively. They may have excellent ideas for stories, but they can't communicate these ideas effectively. They compare it to trying to paint without knowing the difference between colors, or sculpting without knowing the differences between materials. I know this was once true for me. Maybe you've experienced or are experiencing what I once did, and hearing this might help you. I got into writing because I enjoy all kinds of visual mediums and the stories they told, but I lacked the means to tell stories via those mediums. Writing seemed the easiest way to go about it, so I took to the page. Certain ideas would be enough. They weren't. I often experienced two different things. One thing that happened, I hit roadblocks when someone would criticize something. I had no clue how to fix it or understand if they were even right or wrong about their assessment. The other, which I found frustrating in a different manner, I received praise for what I wrote, but I had no clue how I achieved the impression I did, and thus I did not know how to replicate my success. I was blindly fumbling from chapter to chapter, making the best with the patchwork of knowledge I possessed, and I feel I still would be if it wasn't for the fact that I, after feeling frustrated and humiliated after some criticism of my prose, literally threw away everything I knew about writing and retrained myself from the beginning. The reason I'm confident I can tell stories I want is because of the time spent studying grammar, punctuation, rhetoric tools, and all sorts of other things related to prose. These aren't the only things I studied, but they provided the foundation for me to move on to other, more pressing skills. That's why I find it difficult to agree with his assessment that they don't matter at all. In a way, it doesn't matter to me as much anymore because it mattered to me before, and thus, I'm more comfortable with it. I don't think you can reach a stage where it no longer matters without dedicating time to it mattering. What do you think? Could this just be me thinking more like an earlier stage writer still? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get a discussion started. If you do wish to develop your skills with prose, I highly recommend giving my video on Show, Don't Tell, or Watch. I believe I've created the ultimate guide.